Here we are at the Real Deal Kitchen, debating on what we're showing here with this kitchen talk today of Kabocha squash, which is has become for this winter, like moving into very early spring here, still my staple food. I have it, I would have to say, almost every night for dinner, which might sound a little crazy, but when I get on a kick with something, I tend to stick with it, especially if it's good. So the kabocha squash is a beautiful dark green squash that looks like this. They're not really that easy to find. They're not as easy to find as acorn or butternut or what are some delicata squash, or some of those more familiar squashes. Spaghetti squash is even a more familiar squash. But they are, if you find them, and I know we're really talking end of season here, even though they are a food that can be kept in the cellar, of course, this beautiful orange color on the inside, deep orange, lots of vitamin A and beta carotene, vitamin C, B vitamins. I don't know. I don't generally like to talk about nutrients in that way. I feel like if the food feels nourishing to you, it's going to be nourishing for you. But something with an orange flesh like that, just like your carrots, is going to be give you a nice component of vitamin A and beta carotene, which is really the more bioavailable version of vitamin A. But to get off of that track and onto the deliciousness of kabocha squash, one of the things that makes it so fantastic is that it's a very meaty squash. So it stands up to a lot of seasoning, if that's the route you want to go to, all sorts of like turmeric and cumin and coriander. It's a really hearty backbone, but it's also so delicious on its own. The texture of it is it's a little dense, and it's got a really beautiful little sugar sweet background to it. I'm telling you, even though we are toward the end of season, if you can hunt down one of these squash and just simply cook it. We cut it in half, which we haven't shown. We cut it in half, and then we go face down. Dad, do you want to hand me the parchment? My cooking, really the chef in the kitchen here. We put it face down with just a little water on parchment paper, and cook it at 350 for maybe about 45 minutes or so. Every one of these squash, like any food, is going to be a little bit different, just like every human being is a little bit different. So when I give recipes or ideas about food, I don't like to be hard and fast about how it should go, because you want to develop your own skills, your own sense of smell and feeling for when something is done. And I will be frank, these can be a little tricky because they can feel a little hard on the outside still, but be completely ready on the inside. So at about 45 minutes to an hour, you're really going to be ready to take it out of the oven, even if they still feel a little hard. And again, like I had spoken about the white beans on an earlier video, which, to be honest, I'm not sure if I posted yet, but that's coming. Some have been picked earlier in the season than others, and they might have been cellared longer. So there again, you have to use your own sense and common sense about when it might be finished, because if they've been picked a little earlier and they're a little older, they might stay a little bit more dense and hard, whereas if they've been picked more recently, they could come out a little bit more creamy. But even if they come out creamy and soft, they still have this fantastic toothsome, that's the word I was looking for, toothsome texture to them. And it's just, they're so sustaining, and it's one of the things that's made it such a delicious food for me, especially during this winter and the things that I've been going through with dealing with treatment and things like this. So I enjoy it very simply every night with just a little bit of salt, sometimes a little bit of pepper, and my favorite, as I go on about often, goat butter. But any delicious, high quality butter is going to be very fabulous on this if you just want to go the super simple route and have an experience of this wonderful and not so usual squash. So we'll be back a little bit later, I believe, with some biscotti, and the squash is going in the oven now, and we're going to get on to making up our date and almond biscotti. And my father is now wondering what else is in the oven and if it may have been there overnight.
It's been there a while.
Which, this is the Real Deal Kitchen. It's real life. There are lots of adults living in this or being in this household. And sometimes you never know what you're going to find. It's all good. All right. Thanks for watching the Real Deal Kitchen. More later.